"You're not welcome at this table," my daughter-in-law said, blocking the doorway with her arm like a bouncer at some downtown club. Christmas Eve. Snow falling behind me. A casserole dish in my hands that I'd spent 3 hours preparing. My late wife's recipe. The one my son used to beg for every holiday. I stood there on the porch of the house I'd been paying the mortgage on for 6 years and heard those words sink into my chest like nails. Behind her, I could see the dining room, candles lit, a tree glittering in the corner. My son Derek, 37, sitting at the far end of the table, eyes fixed on his wine glass, saying nothing. Guests I didn't recognize filled every chair. Laughter, Christmas music, the life I was financing but apparently not invited to. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I'd driven 45 minutes through a snowstorm to get there. Route 9 was barely plowed. My truck fishtailed twice near the Millbrook exit, and both times I gripped the wheel and thought about turning back. But Derek had called 2 weeks ago. "Dad, come for Christmas Eve. Rachel's cooking. It'll be nice." His voice had that careful, measured tone he used when Rachel was listening. I should have paid attention to that. Now Rachel stood in front of me, 5'6" in heels, blonde hair pinned up, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my heating bill. She smiled. But it was the kind of smile that has teeth behind it. "We discussed this, Walter. The table seats 10. We have 10 guests. Derek invited me. Derek didn't check with me." She glanced over her shoulder. "We barely have enough food as it is." I looked past her at the spread. Turkey, glazed ham, 3 kinds of sides, rolls piled high, a cheese board that could feed a football team. Barely enough food. The casserole dish was getting heavy. My arthritic wrists ached from holding it in the cold. I shifted my weight. I brought a dish, Helen's sweet potato casserole. Something flickered in Rachel's eyes. She'd never met my wife. Helen died 2 years before Derek married Rachel, but she knew the name carried weight in this family. "That's sweet." She didn't move. "But we really don't have space. Maybe you could leave that and we'll save you a plate. Derek can drop it off tomorrow." A plate. Dropped off. Like leftovers for a neighbor's dog. I looked past her again and caught Derek's eye. He looked away immediately, reached for his wine glass, drank deeply. A woman next to him laughed at something, touched his arm. Rachel's friend, maybe. The whole table was Rachel's world. Her colleagues from the marketing firm, her yoga friends, her sister and brother-in-law. Not one person I recognized. Not one person who knew my name. "Derek," I called. My voice carried into the warm room. Conversations paused. Faces turned. He stood halfway, caught between the table and the doorway, then sat back down. "Dad, maybe Rachel's right. It's tight tonight." 6 words. That's all it took to tell me where I stood. My own son choosing a seating arrangement over his father. I looked at the casserole dish in my hands. Helen's recipe, the one she'd taught me to make from memory after the diagnosis, sitting in the kitchen with a notebook, writing down every measurement because she knew I'd forget. "You'll need this for holidays," she'd said. "Promise me you'll keep making it." I set the dish down on the porch railing. "Merry Christmas," I said. I turned around and walked back through the snow to my truck. Nobody called after me. Nobody opened the door. I sat behind the wheel and watched the house through the falling snow. Through the dining room window, I could see Rachel carrying the casserole dish inside, setting it on the table, opening the lid, serving herself first. I started the engine and drove home. The apartment was dark when I got back. Small place, 1 bedroom, above a hardware store in town. I'd moved here after selling the family house to help Derek and Rachel with their down payment, $120,000, handed over without a contract because he was my son, and Helen would have wanted him settled. That was 6 years ago. The house was in Dutchess County, 3 bedrooms, good school district. Market value now, probably $380,000. They paid the mortgage with the money I'd given them as a down payment. which meant I was effectively paying their mortgage with my retirement savings. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark for a long time. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed on the street below, tires crunching through snow. I didn't turn on the lights, didn't eat, just sat there feeling something shift inside me, like a foundation cracking. It wasn't just tonight. Tonight was just when I finally heard it. The sound of a door closing that had been slowly shutting for years. I pulled out my laptop and opened a spreadsheet. I'm an accountant. Retired. But once an accountant, always an accountant. Numbers don't lie, and numbers don't leave you standing on a porch in a snowstorm. Down payment gift. $120,000. Monthly help with utilities they claimed they couldn't cover. $400 a month for 3 years. That's $14,400. Emergency loans. Rachel's car accident. Not covered by insurance. $8,000. Derek's failed restaurant venture. A burger joint that lasted 11 months. $35,000 I gave him as a business investment. He'd signed a promissory note. Notarized, dated, witnessed by my neighbor Phil. That document was in my filing cabinet. More small amounts. Dental work. A vacation they said they'd pay back. Appliance repairs for the house I'd helped them buy. Another $9,000 in random transfers over the years. Total, $186,400. I stared at that number until my vision blurred. Then I closed the laptop and went to bed. Christmas morning. I woke at 5, which is normal. Helen used to tease me about it. You're the only man who treats retirement like a second job. I made coffee. Stood at the kitchen window. The snow had stopped. Clean white everywhere. Covering the parking lot, the rooftops, the dumpster behind the hardware store. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Derek. All after 11 p.m., after the party ended. 2 voicemails. I played them on speaker while I drank my coffee. First one. Dad, hey. Sorry about tonight. Rachel gets stressed with hosting. You know how she is. Call me back. Merry Christmas. Second one. His voice lower, slightly slurred. Dad, please don't make this a thing. She didn't mean it like that. We'll have you over for New Year's. Okay? Just call me. I deleted both and opened my browser. Typed New York property law, gifted down payment recovery. Then promissory note enforcement New York. Then how to protect assets from family. I read for 3 hours. Took notes on a legal pad in my neat accountant's handwriting. The coffee went cold. I didn't notice. By 9 o'clock, I had a plan. Not revenge. I don't believe in revenge. I believe in consequences. The day after Christmas, I called Arthur Baines. He'd done legal work for my accounting firm for 20 years. Semi-retired now, but sharp. Answered on the second ring despite the holiday week. Walter, it's been a while. How are you? I need legal help. Today if possible. What kind? My son owes me $35,000 on a promissory note. I also gave him $120,000 for a house down payment 6 years ago. I want to know my options. Silence. Then, the note. That's straightforward if it's properly executed. The down payment is more complicated. Was it documented as a gift or a loan? It was a check with down payment help in the memo line. That's ambiguous. Could go either way. Come in tomorrow morning. Bring everything. I spent the rest of the day organizing documents. Bank statements going back 6 years. The promissory note in its folder. Every check I'd written. Every transfer receipt. I am an accountant. I keep records the way other people keep photographs. Every dollar accounted for. Arthur's office smelled like old leather and printer toner. He read through my documents for 40 minutes without speaking. Then he removed his reading glasses and looked at me. The promissory note is enforceable. $35,000. Signed, notarized. Statute of limitations in New York is 6 years for written contracts. You're within the window. The down payment is harder. Without a written loan agreement, a court could interpret it as a gift. However, the pattern of financial support, combined with the note, establishes a relationship of dependency. We could argue implied loan. What about the house? You don't own it. Their names are on the deed. But if we can establish that the down payment was a loan, we could place a lien on the property until repayment. Do it. Walter. He set down the papers. This is your son. I know exactly who it is. These things get ugly. It's already ugly. I just stopped pretending it isn't. Arthur drafted 2 documents. A formal demand letter for the $35,000 promissory note, and a separate letter asserting the $120,000 down payment as a recoverable loan, requesting repayment or negotiation within 30 days. Both sent certified mail the following Monday. I tracked the delivery online. Delivered Tuesday, 10:47 a.m. Signature, D. Marsh. My son's handwriting. The phone rang 18 minutes later. Dad, what is this? Derek's voice was tight, controlled. Rachel's voice in the background, high and sharp. Words I couldn't make out. Legal correspondence. Read it carefully. You're demanding money? On Christmas week? Are you serious? The note is 3 years old. You haven't made a single payment. Because it was family money. You were helping us. I was helping you. Now I'm asking for what I'm owed. Rachel grabbed the phone. I could tell because the background noise shifted and her voice came through clear and hard. Walter, this is absurd. You gave that money willingly. You can't just demand it back because you had a bad Christmas. The promissory note is a legal contract. Your husband signed it. That was a formality. Everyone knew it was a gift. Then why did he sign a promissory note? She didn't have an answer for that. Derek took the phone back. Dad, please. Let's just sit down and talk about this. You have 30 days. That's what the letter says. I hung up. My hand was shaking. Not from anger. From the effort of holding steady against my own son's voice. The next 3 weeks were a siege. Derek called daily. Rachel called twice. Each time more hostile than the last. They tried different approaches. Derek played the grief card, said I was acting out because I missed Helen. Rachel tried guilt, reminded me that I'd sold the family house voluntarily. Derek's friend Mike called once, said I was being unreasonable, that family doesn't put family through legal threats. I didn't waver. 30 years of accounting had taught me one thing. Emotions make bad ledgers. Stick to the numbers. On day 22, Arthur called with news that changed everything. Walter, I ran a title search on the property as part of our lien preparation. Something came up. What? There's a second mortgage on the house. Taken out 14 months ago. $95,000 home equity line of credit. My stomach dropped. I didn't know about that. You wouldn't. You're not on the title. But here's the issue. They used the property as collateral, property that was substantially purchased with your money. The HELOC was taken out by Rachel alone. Derek's signature isn't on it. Rachel took out $95,000 without Derek knowing? It appears so. The lending institution is Hudson Valley Federal. I have a contact there. Off the record, the account is in arrears. 3 missed payments. I sat down heavily. They're about to lose the house. If the HELOC defaults, yes. The primary mortgage is current, barely. But 3 missed payments on the equity line triggers acceleration. The full $95,000 becomes due. Where did the money go? That's the question. $95,000 doesn't just vanish. I found out where it went 3 days later. Not from Arthur. From my granddaughter. Lily called me on a Saturday afternoon. She was 9 years old, sharp as a tack, and the only person in that household who still treated me like family. She called from her tablet, whispering, "Grandpa, are you mad at us?" "Never mad at you, sweetheart. Mommy says you're trying to take our house." That's not exactly right. She's been going to a building downtown a lot. The tall one with the glass doors. She goes when Daddy's at work. I looked it up. It's a law place. My blood ran cold. "Lily, do you know the name on the building?" "Cantrell something." Cantrell and partners. Is mommy in trouble? I told her everything was fine. That grown-ups sometimes have disagreements. That I loved her. After she hung up, I called Arthur, Cantrell, and partners. What do they specialize in? I heard him typing. Divorce and family law. High asset cases. Walter, if Rachel hired them, she's planning to divorce Derek, and she took out $95,000 against the house to fund it, or to hide assets. Create debt that reduces the marital estate before filing. The scope of it hit me all at once. Rachel wasn't just rude, she wasn't just entitled. She was systematically looting the family. My money had bought that house. Rachel was draining its equity, planning to divorce my son, and positioning herself to walk away with everything while Derek and I were left with nothing. I told Derek the next day, called him to my apartment, made him coffee, set down the title search, the HELOC documents Arthur had obtained, the information about Cantrell and partners. He read them slowly. His face went white, then gray, then something beyond color, just emptiness. She told me the equity line was for home improvements. What improvements? He looked around the apartment as if seeing it for the first time. None. Nothing's changed in the house. $95,000, Derek. Where did it go? He pulled out his phone, scrolling through bank statements. His hands were shaking. I don't have access to her personal accounts. She handles the finances. You let your wife handle all the money and never asked questions. He looked at me. The defensiveness was gone. What remained was a man realizing he'd been asleep in his own life. What do I do? First, you get your own attorney. Not Cantrell. Someone who'll protect you and Lily. Second, you stop telling Rachel anything about our legal matters. Third, you help me understand every dollar that moved through your household. Dad, I'm sorry. Don't apologize to me. Get angry at the right person. The next 2 weeks moved fast. Derek hired his own attorney, Margaret Hollis, who specialized in contested divorces. Arthur and Margaret coordinated. The picture they assembled was devastating. Rachel had been siphoning money for over 2 years. The $95,000 HELOC was just the largest piece. She'd also opened 3 credit cards in Derek's name without his knowledge. Total debt: $31,000. She'd been transferring small amounts from their joint savings to a personal account at a different bank. $200 here, $500 there. Over 2 years, it totaled $22,000. She'd listed her sister as beneficiary on a life insurance policy she'd taken out on Derek, $500,000 policy. Premium payments hidden in their household budget as wellness expenses. Arthur laid it out for me in his office. This is financial abuse. Textbook. She's been preparing to leave for at least 2 years. Stripping assets. Building hidden reserves. Creating debt in his name. What about my money? The $120,000 down payment? With the fraud evidence, we have a much stronger case. A judge is going to look at this pattern and see a predator. Your claim for the down payment recovery becomes part of the larger picture of Rachel's financial manipulation. And the promissory note? Derek's willing to acknowledge it. Arrange a payment plan. That's actually good. Shows good faith. The confrontation came on a Thursday evening in February. Not planned. Rachel found the documents Derek had been hiding in his car. She stormed into the house while he was giving Lily a bath. He heard her screaming from upstairs and came down carrying Lily wrapped in a towel. She'd found everything. The attorney's correspondence. The HELOC investigation. The credit card fraud documentation. You went through my things? Rachel's voice hit octaves I'm sure the neighbors could hear. You opened credit cards in my name. That's for our family. You're planning to divorce me. You hired Cantrell. She went silent. The kind of silence that has calculations running behind it. Who told you that? Does it matter? It was your father, wasn't it? That meddling old man. I should have cut him off years ago. Derek shut Lily down. Go to your room, sweetheart. Take your tablet. The girl ran upstairs. He waited until her door closed. You took $95,000 out of our house. Money my father helped us buy. Our house. My equity too. Equity built on my father's $120,000. Money you told me to never pay back. Remember? You said, he gave it as a gift. Don't insult him by trying to repay it. That was your idea. She crossed her arms. You can't prove any of this. I don't have to. My attorney already has the documents. Filed with the court. What followed was what Arthur later called the unraveling. Rachel hired 2 more attorneys over the next month, trying to find someone who could make the evidence disappear. None could. The forged credit applications had her handwriting. The HELOC paperwork had her signature alone. The transfer records showed a clear, methodical pattern. She tried public sympathy, posted on social media about how her elderly father-in-law was harassing her family, trying to steal her home because he couldn't accept that his son had grown up. The post got 200 shares. Comments poured in supporting her. People who didn't know the full story, offering prayers, calling me a monster. Arthur's advice echoed what every good attorney says. Don't engage. We respond in court, not on Facebook. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, watching strangers call me heartless when I had a filing cabinet full of evidence showing who the real predator was. A client from my accounting days emailed me. Walter, I saw what your daughter-in-law posted. I'm disappointed. I thought you were a better man. I didn't respond. The truth would come out. It always does if you're patient enough. The court date arrived in April, spring sunlight streaming through the courthouse windows. I wore my good suit, the charcoal one Helen had helped me pick out years ago. Arthur carried 2 binders of evidence. Rachel arrived with her attorney, a young man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Derek sat with Margaret Hollis on the other side. Lily was with Derek's friend Mike, safely away from the proceedings. Judge Raymond Chen reviewed the case materials for 20 minutes before addressing the courtroom. This case involves overlapping civil matters. A financial dispute between Walter Marsh and Derek Marsh regarding a promissory note and down payment recovery. A divorce filing by Rachel Marsh, and allegations of financial fraud. Rachel's attorney tried the hardship angle, called Rachel to testify about being a devoted wife, a good mother, a woman trapped by a controlling father-in-law who used money as leverage. Arthur cross-examined with the precision of a man who'd been waiting for this moment. Mrs. Marsh, did you open a home equity line of credit for $95,000 without your husband's knowledge? It was for household expenses. What household expenses? She couldn't name one. Did you open 3 credit cards in your husband's name without his consent? He knew about those. He's testified under oath that he didn't. The applications bear your handwriting. Would you like to revise your answer? Her attorney objected. The judge overruled. Rachel's composure cracked. What emerged wasn't the polished woman who'd blocked me from my own son's Christmas table. It was someone cornered, calculating, and running out of moves. The forensic accountant's report was the final blow. Arthur had hired one to trace the $95,000. It had gone to Rachel's personal account, then to her sister's account, then to a real estate investment in her sister's name only, a condo in Connecticut, purchased with my money, laundered through a stolen equity line, hidden in a relative's name. Judge Chen's ruling was decisive. Rachel was ordered to repay the $95,000 HELOC from her personal assets or the Connecticut property sale. Derek was awarded primary custody of Lily, based on Rachel's pattern of financial deception. The divorce was granted on grounds of fraud. My promissory note was affirmed as a valid debt. Derek agreed to a 5-year payment plan, $583 a month. The $120,000 down payment claim was partially upheld. The court recognized $80,000 as a recoverable loan based on the pattern of financial dependency. A lien was placed on the property until resolution. Rachel stood when the ruling was read. She looked at Derek, then at me, and for a moment, the mask fell away entirely. Not anger, not calculation, just the flat recognition of someone who played a long game and lost. Outside the courthouse, Derek sat on a bench. I sat next to him. We didn't talk for a while. I owe you more than money, Dad. You owe Lily a stable home. Start there. Rachel was. From the beginning, she was. Don't rewrite the whole history. Some of it was real. Hold on to the good parts for Lily's sake. He nodded. I'm sorry about Christmas. About all of it. Standing there watching you at the door, saying nothing. I'll never forget that. Then don't. He looked at me. How did you know? When did you decide to fight back? When your mother's casserole dish was on the porch railing and nobody came to the door. He broke down then. First time I'd seen my son cry since Helen's funeral. I put my hand on his shoulder. Didn't say anything. Sometimes presence is enough. The months that followed were slow, deliberate healing. Rachel moved to Connecticut, into her sister's condo, the one purchased with stolen equity money. The court required its sale to satisfy the restitution. She fought it through 2 appeals and lost both. Derek and Lily moved into a smaller house, a 2-bedroom rental closer to my apartment. Lily started spending weekends with me. We'd cook together. I taught her Helen's sweet potato casserole recipe, watched her small hands carefully measuring brown sugar and cinnamon. Grandpa, why did Mommy leave? Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other people. It doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Does she love Daddy? That's a question for when you're older. Does she love you? I looked at my granddaughter's face. Her mother's features, but Derek's eyes, Helen's eyes, and told the only truth that mattered. I love you. That's what matters right now. Derek made his first promissory note payment in June. $583. Direct deposit into my account. He didn't mention it. Neither did I. The money wasn't the point. The accountability was. He started attending a support group for people who'd experienced financial abuse from partners. Came home from the first meeting looking stunned. Dad. There were 8 people in that room. All of them had the same story. Different names. Same pattern. It's more common than people think. One guy lost his business. A woman lost her retirement fund. And every single one of them said the same thing. I didn't see it, because I didn't want to. I nodded. That's the hardest part. Forgiving yourself for not seeing. Late August. Heat breaking finally. I stood on my apartment's small balcony with morning coffee, watching the town wake up. Phil from next door waved from his garden. Looking good, Walter. Haven't seen you this relaxed in years. Feels strange being relaxed. What changed? I stopped carrying weight that wasn't mine. My phone buzzed. Photo from Derek. Lily's first day of 4th grade. New backpack. Gap-toothed grin. Standing in front of the smaller house that was theirs. Honestly theirs. No hidden debt. No stolen equity. No pretense. I typed back. Proud of you both. And meant it in ways that went far beyond a first-day photo. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. I'd been writing something for weeks. Note a memoir. A guide. When family becomes a financial threat. Protecting your assets. And your dignity after 60. I'd outlined the warning signs. Family members who discourage you from asking about money. Down payments given without documentation. The slow isolation from your own financial records. The guilt that keeps you writing checks. Long after the relationship has stopped being reciprocal. I wasn't writing it for me. I was writing it for the 70-year-old woman whose children visit once a year and leave with a check. For the retired teacher whose grandson needs just one more loan. For anyone who's ever stood on a porch holding a casserole dish, wondering why the door won't open, I saved the document. Closed the laptop. Walked to the kitchen drawer where I'd kept something for months. A Christmas card. Sealed. Never sent. On the front, a winter scene. Snow falling on a farmhouse. Inside, I'd written a message back in December, the night I was turned away. Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy the casserole. Love. Dad. I tore it in half, then quarters, then dropped the pieces in the trash. The sound was small, paper against plastic. Ordinary. Derek called that night. Dad, Lily wants to know if you're coming for Sunday dinner. Who's cooking? Lily says she's making the casserole. Your recipe. She says she doesn't need help. I smiled. First real smile in months. Tell her I'll be there at 5. And tell her I'm bringing dessert. Real dessert? Not store-bought? Real dessert. Helen's apple cobbler. Dad. Yeah? Thank you. For not giving up on us. I stood at the window, watching the last light of summer fade over the rooftops. Somewhere in Connecticut, Rachel was dealing with the consequences of her choices. I didn't think about her much anymore. Somewhere in that small rental house, my granddaughter was practicing a recipe she'd learned from a grandmother she never met, passed down through a grandfather she almost lost. I stayed at the window until the streetlights came on. The town settled into evening. Kids riding bikes. A dog barking somewhere. Ordinary sounds of ordinary life. Tomorrow, I'd finish the guide. Tomorrow I'd call Arthur about updating my estate plan. Real protections this time. Trusts. Clear documentation. Nothing left to ambiguity or good faith. Tomorrow I'd check Derek's payment, confirm it posted, file the receipt. But tonight I'd just stand here and breathe. Love doesn't require self-destruction. That's what Helen would have said. That's what I finally learned. Not from a book. Not from a lawyer. From a plastic plate that was never set for me. And the long walk back to the truck. And every step after that led me here. Standing in my own kitchen. In my own life. Free. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.